Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The Scottish Government is rather embarrassed at the moment because it has been forced to release about 100 pages of WhatsApp messages that it had previously said didn't exist. They said they didn't have them. Now, these are from Nicola Sturgeon, from Jeane Freeman, from Humza Yousaf, and others. Presumably, they denied that they existed because they were, let's say, embarrassing or controversial, or, as I prefer to think, probably criminal. But now, of course, they're going to be forced that they have to publish them, they have to release them. And this, of course, will cause great, shall we say, embarrassment to all concerned. I think there'll be some very, very worried people. I foresee the likes of Freeman and Sturgeon, especially, being incredibly worried about these because they thought that the government was going to be protecting them. And it turns out that the government aren't going to protect them because they'll have to be forced to be released and to go into public domain, which I think is just absolutely fantastic. You've got, especially, I think the important ones, of course, will be the ones between Sturgeon and Freeman. They will all have to be gone over with a very, very fine-tooth comb. We can't let anything escape there. That has got to be totally investigated. But I've got a piece here which I'm just having a look at. And it is that Hoy, I couldn't think of his name there. Chris Hoy, not Craig, Chris Hoy. He's a cyclist. Craig Hoy. I knew there was some. Craig Hoy, Scottish Tory chairman. He's saying the fact that these are being released now, it's ludicrous that the government tried to cover up this entire mess. It's saying that this should have come out at the time. The very fact it isn't goes to show how shady this government is. They undoubtedly knew these things existed, but pretended that they didn't in order to protect these potential criminals, I suppose you could say. Liz Lloyd, of course, she'll be involved in all this. She's potentially very much in the in the doodah if this ever comes out, if the stuff's there. So it is quite an extensive list of things that have been said. But it's you've got the likes of Humza Yousaf. Now they haven't all been released yet, or at least they've only been partially released, shall we say. But you have Yousaf example. There's examples there of Yousaf kissing ass, sucking up, and being an oleaginous, sycophantic little toady. Being the Smithers to Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns being Nicola Sturgeon, and he's sitting there and he's all like, "Oh, I hope you had a good weekend. Oh, I'll be sitting here. I'm up early like you are. I'll be working hard like you work hard." And really kissing the ring. Sucking up like a toady, and he's like, yes, you're lovely, aren't you, Nicola? You're brilliant, Nicola. Oh, Nicola, what can I do for you, Nicola? And it's loads of it. It's loads of it like this. Oh, I hope you'll be enjoying the football later like I will, Nicola. And it's really embarrassing for him. It goes to show him in a very poor light. Not that we think there's much to see to begin with. I mean, we all pretty much think that's exactly how he is. He's not a very... He's not very much of he's not a man's man, put it that way. He's not one of the bros, is he? But it was, they were talking about she cried for days. Oh, when I read the news, I cried for days and things like that. And it's never a tear left her eye. All bollocks, isn't it? But even the ones that they've found, they've gone through them and they've all still been redacted. Now, the very fact that they're redacting them means that they know what the messages say. And they've released it in a redacted form. And this is what I'm saying. They've been released, but they haven't been released in full. So they're all heavily redacted. So the real messages are there. And you have to ask why they've redacted them. What is said on these messages that is so bad? And the important thing, will they be sent to both COVID inquiries in full, unredacted, and let the inquiries decide whether the information is viable or not? You'd like to think so, but, wouldn't hold my breath on it, would you? Hard to say. It's definitely a case that they were misleading people, misleading inquiries, misleading the press, misleading everybody. again, I think this is another example of there needs to be yet another ministerial code investigation, this time against Humza Yousaf and everyone involved. You have to ask, how much longer can this man stay in power? It's just, it's one thing after another after another. He can't cut a break, can he? Anyway, he's got to go. Now, on the side of that, there's another thing I'd like to talk about, which is about Sturgeon herself. Because it's now been revealed, despite all the other things she's done, it's now been revealed that after she quit as First Minister a year ago, well, just over a year, when in February she actually quit, she was entitled to her leaving office benefit. In the same way as Michael Matheson got his £12,000 odd for doing it, Sturgeon got hers. But Sturgeon, because she'd been in power a bit longer than that, Sturgeon's was significant. And she walked away with £64,000 tax-free. So while the SNP are busy putting taxes up for everyone else, she gets this huge buggering off money of £64,000 on which she pays absolutely no tax whatsoever. Now, will she be asked to repay that? Will she be asked to voluntarily pay the tax on that? I won't hold my breath on that either. I'm going to go blue, all this not holding my breath. But it's another example of different rules for them and for us. We'd have to pay tax. If my boss, when I was working, my boss gave me a bonus, I'll be paying tax on it. If I left work, that money would be taxable. It may not be taxed at that point, but up until I start working again, you use that until you start working again, until you get to the end of the tax year or something. It's a taxable income. I don't know how they think they're going to get away with all this, and to do so blatantly and in the face of people, and knowing that people are going to find out, and they still do it. They are all crooks, aren't they? Well, anyway, there we go. I'll round that off there. It is just another example, though, of the sheer chicanery of this SNP government. They lie, they hide, and then they hope to God that the lies and the hidden stuff isn't coming out, and then it does. But 100 pages of WhatsApp messages, and then they redact even that. Shady. Anyway, till next time, stay safe, stay well. I will speak to you again later, and all I will say then is keep watching them. We can't let them get away with any of this shit all the time. Till later. Goodbye.